It is time for another monthly wrap-up. This time with the month of November, where I read 4 books, technically 3 and a novella, but Rhythm of War counts as like 8 books, so here we are. So to start off the month, I actually started with Tyrant's Throne, which is book 4 of the Greatcoats, but I ended up finishing that last because Dawnshard came out, and I wanted to get a head start on Rhythm of War. So I was actually caught up on the preview chapters via the Audible narration, via Brandon Sanderson's YouTube channel. So I was fully caught up on Rhythm of War. And then I was kind of all over the place. So I read Dawnshard first, which was a fantastic novella. It was definitely his best novella within the Stormlight archive, I think. I didn't really feel like Edge Dancer provided much to the overall story other than introducing you to Lift, whereas Dawnshard really has a lot more implications, and I do have a full review of that on the channel. Check that out if you haven't. But for me, it not only makes you care more about characters like the Lopin and Risen, and even Chiri Chiri, her, little animal companion, but just the impact on the overall story of the Stormlight Archive. Dawnshard, in its, limited pages, does a very good job of actually bringing things to the series. It certainly enhances the experience of Stormlight Archive, and I have a very good feeling that in the consecutive books following Rhythm of War, it will have even more of an impact, and Risen and Lopin and these other characters that play a role in Dawnshard will be even more involved in the story moving forward. So I definitely do recommend reading it before Rhythm of War. Now, reading it and then immediately reading Rhythm of War, I didn't feel like there was like a crazy amount of stuff that you need to know right away, but I would suggest, at this point, Rhythm of War became such a gigantic Cosmere novel that you should just read the Cosmere before reading it. So based on the release dates, I was still waiting for Rhythm of War to come out officially, and I was caught up on that. So November 10th was Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter, which I also reviewed, and is a fantastic book. Now, long story short, this book basically gave me exactly what I was expecting from the sequel to Rage of Dragons, which is one of my favorite books of the year that I've read. And that's not a bad thing. I don't necessarily say that this played it safe, but this did what I wanted it to do, which was grow Tao as a character, give me more of the side characters' background, story, and personalities. Have a better female protagonist, because Zuri from book 1 was just kind of like an info dump every time she was on screen or, on the page. And Siora is much better in this book than Zuri was. This also grew Isihogo. This really expanded the world building. You're learning more about the Zadine and the other cultures in Umlabo, which is where this takes place. And, of course, you still have the same great action, violence. This even stepped deeper into, like, grimdark in some aspects of it. And just the entire magic system that Evan Winter's growing here with the demons and just, where these people get their powers from. I really love this series so far for its originality. Yeah, at its base core, it is a revenge tale, but it's grown beyond that with Fires of Vengeance, and just the refreshing atmosphere of the African setting versus, a traditional Western medieval setting that we always see in fantasy. The uniqueness of Isihogo and the magic system and how it's incorporated into the world, and it's not just, people have powers. Like, there are clear rules and restrictions to who can do what and why. All that's getting explored further. His dialogue is getting better. His pacing is phenomenal. I thought Rage of Dragons was paced beautifully, and Fires of Vengeance is even more relentless in some aspects. I totally adore... Really? Slack. My Slack is going off again during a video. Damn it! Long story short, I loved Fires of Vengeance. I absolutely adore the Burning Saga so far. I believe there's 2 more books on the way, so as soon as you can, get those out, sir! Next up, of course, is the Mac Daddy of the year. This fat, thick, with 2 C's book, Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. So book 4 of the Stormlight Archive. I do have a full non-spoiler review of this as well. I did have my gripes with it. I did not enjoy the singers slash Parshendi plotline that we are introduced to in book 4. I feel like if you wanted me to care about these characters, you probably should have done it a little bit earlier, not book 4 of a 5-book arc. But I totally understand that some people completely adore this book. I don't quite understand the praise of saying it's like the greatest book ever written, or, you know, top 5 of all time kind of thing. But hey, if this is your jam, I'm not here to hate on your opinion. So overall, though, I mean, it is a great book. I just can't quite hold it up there with even other books in the series. I think Oathbringer is better than this, and Words of Radiance is definitely better than this. I would place this third right now, just ahead of Way of Kings, which, you know, if I reread it, maybe I would like that even more. But what this book does very well, of course, is with the characters that we already know and love, you continue to love them. They are always interesting to read about. Kaladin, Dalinar, Shallan, and a lot of the side characters that are getting more time in the story are fascinating to follow. I feel like some of Shallan's plot didn't work for me that much in this book, but it's neither here nor there. The action is always great. The Sanderlanche, of course, once again, is fantastic. No, it's not on the scale of some of the other ones, but there are so many implications and so many big, impactful things that happen in this book that the Sanderlanche is great. It's setting up beautifully for book 5. The more I talk with people in Discord and on YouTube about it, the more excited I get. So even though this wasn't my favorite, book 5, I feel like is going to have such a massive impact on this overall story. And it's just going to leave with... I'm probably going to have a book hangover after book 5 for Stormlight, just because of everything that needs to get wrapped up, everything that we're going towards. It's going to be pretty crazy. But Rhythm of War, overall, it was great in parts. It was kind of boring in parts. So up and down for me a little bit with the pacing. As I mentioned in my review, the best interludes of the series, hands down. The worst flashbacks of the series, hands down. I, along with many others who have mentioned the length of the book, this definitely felt its length for me. As much as I enjoy these books, every 100, 150 pages or so, I'm like, wow, I still have 800 more pages. This is insane. This book could have been shorter. Maybe, I'd say like the top 200 maybe. Like you could probably shave about 200 pages off of this, in my opinion. And have it as like a nice like 1150 to 1200 page book instead of almost 1400. But that's just my opinion. And last up, and finally, I did get back to and finish Tyrant's Throne yesterday. The day before filming this, of course. Which, this took me a little bit longer than it should have just because of real life getting in the way. But this was pleasantly a return to form for Sebastien de Castell with the Greatcoat series. If you've watched my Saint's Blood review, which was book 3, I really, really did not like it. And the more I thought about it and talked to people about it, the less I liked it. This, I feel like, was a much better book. I almost just, like, don't even think that Saint's Blood exists kind of in my mind. I wish that book had just been split up and incorporated into the other 3 books and just have it be a true trilogy. I don't feel like it needed to be 4 books long, but this book does a great job of wrapping the series up. I did enjoy the ending very much, and it's wrapped up pretty nicely. There's no, like, massive cliffhanger or anything, because he's not, like... This series is done after this book. Now, I know he's working on another series in this world. I don't know the timing of it. Obviously, it's going to come after it, but I don't know if it's supposed to include the main characters from this book or not. But Kest, Brasti, Falkio, great characters. I absolutely adore their friendship, and their personalities and their interactions with each other were great. In general, the fight scenes in these books were fantastic. There was a very goofy scene, I'll say it that way, without spoiling anything in this book, that almost took me out of it when I read it, and then I kind of moved past it, and the rest was fine. So there was really only one kind of speed bump in this one. Overall, I really enjoyed it. If you've liked the series so far up to this point, you're going to like Tyrant's Throne. I don't think there's anything that's going to turn you off of the series. If you've made it this far, it was pretty fun. Lots of comedy. Lots of good action, some pretty good character moments, and definitely some very solid quotes from these books. Overall, I enjoy it. I definitely recommend this series. I recommend all these series that I've read. Stormlight, of course, fantastic. Read it if you love Brandon Sanderson. Read the rest of the Cosmere if you want to get all of the information from it, because whereas everything was Easter eggs, now it's, becoming more like a bigger part of the actual story. The Burning by Evan Winter, fantastic. I cannot wait for book 3. The Greatcoats is fantastic as well. Overall, book 3 was a misstep, but in general, the other 3 books are good, so I can't knock it too much. Again, it should have been a trilogy. And I'm actually looking forward to stepping into Spellslinger, which I guess is his like YA-ish story that he does. But Spellslinger, I've been told that if you like the Greatcoats, it's pretty similar in feel and theme, so I'll probably enjoy that as well. And I am definitely going to pick up whatever his next series is in Tristia. I believe it's just not necessarily a continuation, but new characters further in the future set in the same world. So I am looking forward to that. And I'm really looking forward to December now, though. As good as the Cosmere was, other than Emperor's Soul, which I'll fit in somewhere at some time, I am happy to be done with the Cosmere for a while. I read the entirety of it this year. There's a lot of it. And I'm glad that I can now put some gaps in between reading another Cosmere book as I get back to series that I've been meaning to get back to and finish, and some new ones as well. So definitely check out my December TBR if you have not yet. Lots of good books coming up. But like and subscribe, as always. Do join the Patreon if you want to support the channel financially. That is, of course, always optional, but always appreciated. I love each and every one of my patrons, and if you subscribe to the highest tier, you get to pick a book that I read every 2 months. So that's pretty cool, which 2 of them actually I'm reading in December because it was a tie. Join in the Discord and leave a comment down below on the video. Let me know what you all read in November, what your favorite reads of the year were, what you're looking forward to the most in December. I would love to hear from you all about that. But until next time, everybody, keep reading.